Hello, everyone. My name is Jackie Turner, and I wanted to come to you today because I've been following along with the news reports and just started kind of checking out this series called Surviving R. Kelly. It has now made its way into over 2 million homes. Over 2 million people have seen this series. And people are asking, like, how does this happen? Why do women stay quiet? Where were the parents? And all these things. And I feel like I just wanted to kind of jump in and dive in and encourage people who have made it through trauma and abuse. I want to challenge people who are asking, what can we do to stop some of the things going on? And I also just kind of want to give a behind the scenes look at what is it like for people who make it through this? What is it like for them when they're going through it, and why do people get away with this? So, first, why should I even have an opinion about this area? Well, I grew up in a time like in my first like 19 years were pretty hard. I was passed from home to home, went through multiple levels of abuse and between foster care and living with even some of my own birth family. Um, and then in 2013, I went viral for writing what my experience was like. And then in 2015, a movie went out on my life story called My One Christmas Wish. Um, I've been doing everything I can to make sure that my situation doesn't keep me down, or like what has happened to me won't define or defy my life. And the aspect of like the saying, you're not what you come from, but like what you choose to do. I believe that wholeheartedly. There's been times where I've worked 4 to 5 jobs at a time to make sure I could put myself through college. I'm about to graduate with my master's degree in May. And I just feel like I really want people to know, like who have gone through abuse, that you can make it out. So here are some of my thoughts. I look at the situation with R. Kelly, and I look at the young girls that were like being attacked, and like I just feel like number one, our society, our nation needs to address the generations of people who have brushed things under the rugs when it comes to abuse. I currently work with mothers who have homeless mothers who are breaking their cycle of homelessness, who have come through unbelievable circumstances. And a lot of the stories I hear is like, we brushed this under the rug. I've worked with foster kids, adopted kids, where abuse has happened to them. I've even been in college, and I've also heard stories from professors. I've heard stories from people in the community at church. It doesn't matter the age. It could be a child who's 5 years old or a woman who's 62 years old. It could be a man who says he was molested. You guys, abuse is out there. And when I think about this stuff, it's like, why do we keep setting this aside? Why are we afraid to stand up and say, no, this isn't okay, this isn't right? Why, when we see the slap of a hand against someone's face, or why, when we see a child who is way skinnier than like anybody could imagine, why do we just kind of turn the other eye? The first thing I want to say to us who are out there seeing abuse happen to people is step up and do the right thing. How do you do the right thing? If you see someone being injured or hurt by someone in an abusive fashion, call the cops. Call CPS, follow up on the story. If people aren't listening, or if cases are just closing down, I mean, how many stories do we have to hear about of children who are murdered because somebody like called CPS, and then CPS sent the child right back to the situation? It's like headline news every other day. Take video clips of the abuse happening. Like do it until somebody will listen. Get this person to safety. If a woman is in domestic violence, many people will say, you know what, an adult should make a choice to get out of abuse. Suppose this woman started in this level of abuse at 16 years old. Suppose this woman, even before 16, all she had known was abuse. And it happens, guys. You take a child who's in foster care or passed around, and all they've seen are people who say they're living with them for a paycheck, or people that have parents who are in addiction or an alcoholic. All they've seen is abuse. Then they actually believe that when they go out into the world, that's the way the world is. They haven't seen love and kindness. They've only seen the damage of dysfunction. So then when they go out, they're getting into relationships where they believe that's all there is. And someone like you sees them being hurt, like you have to step in and tell them there is something different so that they can decide to make a difference. Not just that, but like a lot of people are trapped. When I was about 13 years old, every single day I'd get punched and beat up. And I remember thinking, okay, I hate going home because this is all there is. And I remember just feeling like I was living in a modern day concentration camp. Fed hot sauce till I threw up, slapped in the face, do dishes. If a dish isn't done well enough, this grown man would come and stand behind me and slap me in both my ears. Punched in the face, like this nick on my eyebrow right here that I used to cover up. That came from when I was 13 years old. I got punched in the face. It fell backwards and hit my face on an entertainment center. You guys, a lot of people in abuse don't know there's a way out. I can tell you, I went to 2 family members, and other family members came in and saw abuse happening. I talked to some of those family members as an adult, and it was like, they've called some of my abusers crazy. They said maybe that person's bipolar or this and that. And my question to some of those people were, why didn't you do something? Why didn't you do something? Especially when it comes to children. Oftentimes abusers can control and manipulate them because children don't know all the resources out there for them. They don't know there's another way to go. Children are so vulnerable when it comes. So then you take a child who was raised in that, and then they become an adult, and now they've got to figure out there's something different than just this abuse. Maybe they start, either they've had enough, so they try and run away, and then this person will tell them, I'll kill you, or I'll start hurting your family. All these threats to try and control them and keep them there. But then the bravest or the most desperate people will step out and say, I don't care what it costs, I'm getting out of here. And then when they get out, they begin to learn something was wrong with the way they were treated. I remember a grown man, he used to spread his butt cheeks, sit his butt and all his goods on my face and fart and turn around and laugh at me. I was so distracted by the physical abuse that I didn't even know I was being sexually abused until I was 23 years old. That went on for me between the ages of 13 and 17. You guys, when it comes to abuse, a lot of times people don't know there's a way out. When you're in the heart of abuse, most of the time you're thinking about surviving. You're thinking about, okay, if I behave like this person won't be angry at me. Okay, he's sleeping right now. He or she is sleeping right now. I have a moment to breathe. The last thing you're thinking about is, okay, I can do this and this will get me out of this situation. And for those who haven't experienced abuse, it may sound unbelievable. It's like, why not just get up and walk out? Like for you, you've seen there's a way out. You've seen that isn't the only way in life that needs to be lived. For those in abuse, many times, a lot of them, one, they don't feel worthy. They've either been, like for instance, some people are traded for drugs at the time of their birth. They're sold into sex trafficking. They're abused and told in foster care, I'm just doing this so I can get a check. So number one, people who have abused, a lot of the time, they don't even know their self-worth and value. So to have someone who hasn't experienced abuse come in and say, why didn't you just leave? Or why didn't you just kind of ask for help. I can tell you there were times where I came to school with bruises upon my face. I was told by the woman who was abusing me to say I got hit in the face by a basketball. She told me if I did this, then everything would change and things would be different. That was the only mother I knew. I went to the court system. I said I got hit with a basketball. I went home, 2 days it was good, and then it was right back to normal. I was locked in closet, starved, and beaten. People in vulnerable situations, they don't always know there's another way out. They're listening, and then when you don't know there's a place that you can go where you'll have safety and refuge, you don't know there can be something better. You guys, abuse it's really awful. And a lot of times people don't even know how to get out of it, let alone know they can survive outside of the person who's taking care of them that is abusing them. As I think about surviving R. Kelly and I listen to some of these stories, many people will question, did it even happen? Are they just attacking this man? And this is one thing I will say. I'm gonna say I don't know. I say it could have happened. Maybe for many of them it did happen. Maybe for some it didn't happen. Maybe they just, who knows. But this is what I do know. There are people out there who are going through extreme abuse. There are people out there being sex trafficked. There are children out there being starved and beaten. There are kids out there emaciated, just like, look at their like skin. You can see their bones through their skin. There are women right now going through domestic violence. There are men who have been molested. There are people crying out all around us saying, can we stop this abuse? Can someone care enough to tell us there is something different? Can someone, if we don't have the strength to fight back a person who is trying to attack, threatening to kill us, threatening to squash our identities. I mean, abusers, they're so manipulative. Abusers, they have a way of befriending everyone, and yet no one knows what's going on behind closed doors. You can have a man smiling in your face. You could have a man preaching the word of God, and they're abusing their family behind the scenes. You don't believe me? Look at what happened with the priest and all those children molested. You don't believe me? Look at these stories coming out in Surviving R. Kelly. You don't believe me? Look at what happened to the gymnasts that were seeking to represent the United States of America. Look at the headlines of stories of the kids murdered. You guys, we can do better to fight against what we're seeing when it comes to abuse. We have to step up and be brave enough to fight for those who can't fight for themselves. We have to be brave enough to be a voice for the voiceless until they can find their own voice. We have to be brave enough to face our own family members when it comes to they've been abusing someone in the family. Because that impact, it doesn't just affect the abuser and the abuse victim. It affects everyone that has seen it. So many people have been touched by abuse, and I guess I just want to ask, when are we going to stop throwing a rug over abuse? Thank you.